Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, and tonight I'll be sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all the episodes of the podcast and links to social media, ways to donate, and other ways to reach me on the podcast page. That would be salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions for episodes, or if you have stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or others you trust. Happy to hear from you. Happy to read them on the show, that is. And or if you'd like to join me on the show, we can talk about them here. So thank you all for listening, as always, whether it's to the live stream or to the podcast or YouTube feeds. I always appreciate all of the support. So I guess that means I can get started with these stories here. So let me just finish getting this set up, and I think we can get going. So, this one says, I'm typing this about an hour and a half after this encounter or experience happened. Let me see. I love to fish in a river very near to where I live. Tonight was one of the nights where I went out and would fish. The place I like to go is set behind a very old cemetery, and you have to cross through the cemetery, to access the river. Tonight I walked down to the river and started fishing. I soon lost track of time and realized the sun was going down. I planned on cutting through the woods to get to my car before it was too dark. This, however, would involve walking through the middle of the old creepy cemetery, in the near dark. Me being comfortable with the area and having done this many times before, I started to cut through the cemetery, and I started to hear a high-pitched yet quiet voice that was giggling and whispering in the woods. I thought it was just another family or person wandering back to the main road. After a bit, however, I realized it was only one voice. A voice that appeared to be very young, like an adolescent female child. I got very startled and freaked out. I ran back to my car and got my fishing stuff situated in the car, and was still hearing a quiet voice in the distance. Keep in mind, it's a wooded, secluded area at dark. The experience ended when I drove away. I saw nothing, however, and the noise of a voice and a creepy laughter was prolonged and actually scary. This isn't the scariest thing that's happened in the woods for many. However, I believe this may have been my first run-in with a paranormal entity. And that's where that one... Oh, wait. There's an update. I forgot. I looked up the cemetery and didn't have to do much digging to find that the cemetery was used for witch prosecutions in the 1800s. According to my town's historical site, in 1870, the last accused witch was hung near the river, and goes into more grisly detail there. And the witch is now buried, the supposed witch, I guess you could say. It's probably the best way to put it. Hidden in the cemetery. There have been many investigations and hauntings that have occurred at this cemetery. I do not know if I should avoid the cemetery now or go back at night. Okay, and that is where that one ends. If I was him, I don't think I would go back there at night like that, especially not alone. Sounds like a area with some possibly bad or at the very least sad, possibly negative energy. But it is odd though that they've been there before. I guess maybe because they were there later than usual is why maybe they had that experience. Because it seemed like they'd been there before. The writer had been there before. So yeah. And again, just because things sound creepy or and like that doesn't necessarily mean it's the intent of whatever is there, whoever is there is bad. But it can definitely still be frightening. So, but yeah, that's quite the combination, having a cemetery and then not too far away having a river there nearby in the woods. So, but anyway, we can move on to the next story here. Let's see here. Okay. This one says, so my wife and I are laying down, and she asked me to go get a bottle of water from downstairs. I started to close the door, and she said the dog wanted to go too. So I left the door open and went downstairs. As I was about to go into the closet, I looked back near the stairs and saw my dog looking at me. I grabbed the 2 bottles of water and walked past her. And as I got up the stairs, I said, let's go to her. And my wife asked, who are you talking to? So, of course, I told her the dog. She mentions to me that, oh wait, I lost my spot. Oh, she motions to the corner. That's what I thought it mentions. Motions to the corner where the dog was laying down, and says that the dog started to follow, but then turned around and lay back down again. I was certain it was her, but when I came up, she was laying down. No way she could have run that fast upstairs without me noticing. So it sounds like either there was something there that looked just like their dog, or maybe some kind of astral projection. I don't think I've heard of it with dogs, but I've heard of it with cats, and I think I may have even seen it with cats. So if one animal can do it, then I can't really rule out that another animal could do it. So it is that's an odd one though. That's, like I said, that's the first time I've ever heard of a dog being copied like that, or astral projecting like that. So that's creepy in a way, because you kind of just hope it's the dog somehow having an out of body experience kind of thing, maybe. Because if it's not, then what is it, or who is it? So, but yeah, there's that one. I see that we have listeners. Thank you for being here. So, but yeah, let's see here. I see a couple of you there. But hello, APOC. I'm just calling out who's in the text chat here. I don't want to call out anyone if they're just listening. So, but anyway, so we can go on to the next story here. And let's see, let me find the beginning of it. And then we will. Okay, there we go. This one says, it was a summer evening. I was 18 years old and chatting with my sister's friend who went by the name of Sandman online. I was playing a video game and messaging him when I heard the television increase in volume. I reached for the remote and immediately felt a drop in temperature. I turned the TV off and threw the remote on the table. I went back to the computer, and when I sat down, I heard the chair, I'm guessing they're bringing another chair, start to rock. The chair was purchased in the 80s, and you heard every single rock. I'm guessing that means it made squeaking and groaning noises as you moved in it. I've been in chairs like that. The rocking was steady, as if someone was in that chair, and I was slightly freaked out. I turned around to check, and sure enough, the chair was moving by itself. I told Sandman about it, and his response was, "You have a ghost," which I typed haha to. He called our landline and had me perform a bunch of tasks. We started together by checking that there were no drafts from the door, windows, or the vent, and there weren't any. He asked me to see if the cold was isolated in one area or all over the room. I told him it was one area, the chair, where the chair was at. He continued saying, "Is the chair new?" And I told him that no, it was my grandmother's chair, and she had passed away 8 years prior. She used to rock me in that chair when I was little, which is why I kept it for 20 years. Sandman told me to ask, "Can you rock the chair faster?" And it slightly picked up speed, squeaking even more than before. I told Sandman that I was getting really freaked out and wanted to stop. Sandman told me to say, "You need to leave." And the second I finished the sentence, it stopped. He had me explore the chair, and the temperature was back to normal. Sandman said if I was still freaked out, to listen to music before bed and try to sleep with my head under the covers. That was the start of my experiences. So, sounds like this person that the writer talked to knew a thing or two about the paranormal, although I kind of don't like that they asked the writer to directly ask anything of who or whatever was there. But besides that, I do like the process of trying to track down the source of the cool air, and then kind of taking control of the situation, which it also can be risky at times, but still important, I think. To basically make the situation resolve the situation on their own. Um, and although it's, I have to say, I'm wondering now if it was the grandma there, possibly, if she had, and this is kind of just something I've noticed with people kind of in general as they get older sometimes, is their hearing kind of starts to go. And so with the TV volume going up, and then the rocking chair beginning to go, it's almost like someone arrived and said, I was thinking, oh, I can't hear that TV. Or it was a signal. There was supposed to be a signal as well. Like, there's that as well. It could be. But, oh, I can't hear the TV, so I'm going to turn it up a little bit. And then, of course, the writer, not knowing what was going on, just reacted by turning the TV off. So maybe even whoever was in that chair would start getting a little bit annoyed, and they started rocking in the chair. Again, either just because they were annoyed or because, again, they were trying to get attention. And then the rest is pretty much explained in the article, I'm thinking of yesterday, in the story there. So either way, sounds like it was either the grandma or it was someone possibly acting like it was, like they wanted the person to think it was the grandma. Although, as long as nothing bad happened or nothing else major happened, I could get behind the idea that it was the grandma. So, so I thought that was a neat story there, just because of the way this writer was kind of led through some steps to take in that situation, by their friend, their sister's friend. So, but so yeah, neat story there. And let me see here. So I will find the next story here, and we can get going. One moment. Okay. Let's see here. All right. There it is. Okay. This one says, this is a story that has been in my family for as long as I can remember. And I know for a fact it is true. My great-grandmother grew up in, I believe, what was an old farmhouse. She would often hear noises such as footsteps going up and down the stairs, as well as people having conversations in various places of the house. This got bad to the point where when her dad left for work everybody else also left and would not return home until he also came home. After some years passed, she fell asleep in bed and could feel what she thought was her grandkids hugging her and saying good night. But the next day, when she came downstairs for breakfast and she mentioned it to her grandchildren, they would reply that they had never been in her room. I can't remember the exact details, but I believe the fireplace was being replaced, and due to that, the original was knocked out to be removed. When they did this, they found bones. I have been told this story a lot since I was a kid, and multiple people have repeated the same story and also confirmed it to be true. And that's the end of that one. I kind of wish they had known or specified what kind of bones those were. That just kind of leaves you wondering. Of course, it could have been animal bones. So also I missed a comment here earlier. I didn't see that. APOC says self-rocking chairs not cool. Yeah, and then I think it was the grandma. I kind of agree with that last one. Yeah, but this one, that's a good collection of experiences there. Um, the footsteps could be strange enough, but then when you think you feel people giving you a hug when you're in bed, that's a bit creepy. Um, so, although I'm wondering how many years after, um, like how many years of time had passed between the footsteps and that. Sounds like she was a lot older when. It sounds like the great grandmother was younger when the footsteps were happening, and then older, obviously, because she had grandkids when she thought that they were hugging her at night. Um, so that's the only things I can say about that story there. Um, it does sound like there is activity in that area, in that house, and conversations. I wonder how many generations of family lived there. Um, I could also maybe explain some things, possibly. Maybe it was deceased loved ones from before actually giving her a hug in bed. Um, but yeah, those family stories are always really interesting to me because I've kind of I kind of have a couple of those from my dad's side of the family, and they stay around. And older stories, they're still, I guess, what I would call remnants of older stories of other experiences that other family members that I've never met had in other locations. So, but like to I like to bring out those stories whenever they make sense for whatever I'm talking about. So, um, I liked. I'm glad I found that one, just because of the family aspect of it. So let's see here. I think we have two more left. Yeah, two more left. Um, okay, so this one says, in July of last year, I stayed by myself in this hotel in New Orleans, and I had a really weird night. Like I felt another presence and saw something or someone in my reflection and mirror reflection, and something woke me up at 5 a.m. by tapping me on my shoulder. There was also random knocks on the door in a pattern, but I'd open the door and nobody would be there. I decided to look up the hotel today, and it turns out it's one of the most haunted hotels in New Orleans. New Orleans. I know there's I've heard it said different ways, so I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. And it's rumored to be the historic brothel that House of the Rising Sun was based on. This was a random hotel I booked because my flight got moved, and I honestly had no, had chills reading about it after. Let's see if there's more. Yeah, page break. There we go. And it says there was a brothel apparently one oh I already read that part. And actually, they repeat that part. Um, so it was the one that the House of the Rising Sun was based on. And apparently, the madam who still haunts the property, and the knocks were, um, so the madam still haunts the property. This is not written the best. Sorry. And the knocks on the doors were to inform couples that their time was up. That was in quotation marks. So it sounds like possibly some residual activity, although the tapping of the shoulder Um, I don't know if that could be residual or not. But yeah, that's that's an odd one there too. Sounds like there was a few different things going on there for that person. And then they looked into it, and it has a history of possibly being haunted. So uh, that's one thing about hotels. I would always recommend is to look into the history of a place when you can. History, and also look around online to see if it's said to be haunted, just in case. Whether you want a place that is said to be haunted or not, that's up to everyone, obviously. Um, but so many that's on that list, that short list of places, of types of places that I have. That's I've listened to a lot of stories about, which is just hotels and hospitals are two of those kinds of places. I can't remember what other ones are on that list, but um, that seem to always have activity. So, I had to share that one. But let's see here, we got one more, and then I'll be done. Let's see here. So this one says, the other night I was sitting on my couch in the living room, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. And I turned to look at it, and the thing zoomed out of my vision. From what I saw, it looked like some sort of glowing orange ball of light. The next day, I was talking to my dad, and I brought it up. And apparently, he's been seeing this thing fairly often, but whenever he tries to look at it directly, it flies out of view. Has anyone here had a similar experience? For reference, we live in a fairly rural area in the southeastern part of the U.S. So that's a short one, but there's another orb story. Um, and only this one, it seems like whatever this is does not maybe want to be seen for long, if at all. Because you have two people, the writer and their father, who say they see it out of the corner of their eye, and then when they try to look at it, it flies away. So, yeah, that's which is different from a lot of other stories where these things are floating around and they almost seem to not care what's going on around them. So that's why I figured I would put this one in there tonight, because it's a different reaction, if it is indeed reacting, but a different ending to the story. So so yeah, and these stories today kind of gave me an idea for what I'm going to do on Friday, which I did want to talk about. There will be an episode of the podcast on Friday, but I won't be doing a stream. I have a good friend that is doing their first live stream that day. I won't go into a lot of detail because um, I don't want to put any pressure on them possibly or anything like that. Um, but I'll share the link later on this week when it gets closer in the Discord. But and I want to be there for that stream, but I also still want to put out an episode. And other friend, Michael Strange of Trouble Minds Radio, mentioned that what I could do is just record an episode, still release it. So, and what I was thinking I'm going to do for that episode is I'm just going to talk about kind of my view of the paranormal based on everything that I've been looking into since since I started doing this podcast. As I was already looking into the subject before, but not nearly as much as I do now, I think. So, especially in terms of articles and experience stories and all of that. I'm almost every day of the week now, I'm researching for something. So, um, I think that'll be a fun episode to do. And so that'll still be out Friday. Um, but anyway, these stories today kind of gave me the idea, so I'm looking forward to doing that. Also, and I mentioned this in the Discord as well. If anyone listening to this podcast um, has any questions for me that they'd like me to answer, excuse me, feel free to send them in either through Discord or as a direct message or through any of the ways to contact me. Email, which is salsidoparanormal@gmail.com. It's SALSIDO paranormal@gmail.com. And I will also answer those questions in that episode. So it'll be a mix of those two things together. I already got one question, and so hopefully we'll get some more. And the deadline for questions, as far as that goes, I think it's important to set one, is this Friday at noon Eastern. So whenever that is for everyone listening, just look it up online. And I do that sometimes with time zones and all that. And send in your questions, and if I can, I will answer them. I'll do my best to do so. And I think that covers it. I went over the schedule for the week yesterday, so I don't think we need to do that again. But thank you all again for listening and for being here. And I think that'll be it for today. So I'll talk to you all tomorrow night on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care.